Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Writing Show Music for Battery Percussion Series. Today we are starting a brand new chart called Race. This is another terrible concert band chart that I wrote a couple years ago. A couple years ago, I decided that I wanted to try and expand my compositional knowledge into the realm of concert band because I thought if I learned how to arrange and compose easy concert band music, that I'd probably get a lot of money really quickly. And I have since decided that I'm going to stay in my own lane as a percussion arranger and composer because it is free to stay in your own lane. Anyway, so there's nothing really special programmatically about the piece. Hopefully, you are hearing the piece right now without percussion parts. So great, yeah. As you can see, this is fairly standard, easy peasy, terrible, cheesy music, right? The reason I wanted to do this one after the Celebration of Morning's Light in this series is that the Celebration of Morning's Light we did is kind of like a opener feel to it. It's something that I feel that would probably open a show where it starts off slowly and kind of builds to a climactic, faster section. This just goes all the way through. This is a closer to me, right? It's aggressive, it's fast, it's gonna have some notes in it in the drumline parts, not a lot in the wind parts, but whatever. So um, what we're gonna do with this one also is a lot of people ask me a question, whether they're a percussion instructor that's just trying to make it, or they're or they sorry, or if it's a just a random person that's just beginning their journey with writing for marching percussion, is they all want to know what you would write, or what you write when you have a group of students that you they're not beginners, they're not advanced players, they're kind of in that snug intermediate plus section. But we want to get them to the next level, and we want to get them there as quickly as possible. So, how do I write for that? Okay, so one important thing to note about the word intermediate is I'm not using the standard intermediate grade level that you would see on all of like the Texas prescribed music list, I think it's called. When I'm saying intermediate, I'm saying an intermediate drum line or intermediate battery percussion section is a is a percussion section in a band that has like one band director who's not a percussionist. The battery plays fairly well together. Maybe they have an instructor that comes during band camp and maybe once or twice a week, but they're really trying to make a push and get higher up on the score sheet. So we're not talking about publisher intermediate. We're talking about you know I don't want to say real world intermediate, but I guess that's the only intuitive phrase that comes to mind. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about what I call an intermediate drum line. All right, so some normal I have a list of notes here that I'm reading off of. Some normal educational traits present in an intermediate level battery percussion ensemble. The first one is most, if not all, of the players are proficient in reading rhythms from whole notes to 30-second notes. All right, and I say most, if not all, because generally your cymbal players are not going to be asked to play 30-second notes, so they don't really have to read, or they don't have to be proficient in 30-second notes. But generally, whole notes to 16th notes are recognizable and easily counted and interpreted correctly by an intermediate drum line. Your snare drums and tenors are going to be at a point to where they can play roles within their own individual subsection and together relatively cleanly most of the time. Your tenor players are going to start to incorporate more crossovers instead of open-handed playing. We won't get into too many of those today, just because I don't want this to be a series only for drummers. But we'll include some in this chart. And then let's see, bass drums are going to be really comfortable with splits that involve only a half beat per drum. So something like this to start out with, or more than more commonly, something like this, where each player is only playing half of a beat. So we're really comfortable with something like this, and we're looking to make a push towards being able to play something like this, 16th note triplets or sextuplets. Okay, so that's what let's see. There's one more, and then cymbal players. I've got the word multi down here because I think in an intermediate drum line, if you have more than one cymbal, they're ready to play individualized parts. Okay, so let me explain how I'm going to do that real quick. When I write for multiple cymbal players, anything on this line right here is a unison, whatever the note is. So I usually, in intermediate writing, I usually keep to four main techniques. Even if I'm going more advanced for my for college players, I'll usually stick to four. But it's some type of crash. VDL has it as an orchestral crash, a choked crash, a sizzle, which Virtual Drumline refers to it as a sizz suck. I don't know why, but that's basically your open hi-hat to closed hi-hat sound, and then sizzle, right? So I think that's all. Let's see. Crash, muted crash. Yeah, good. All right, so anything on this line is going to be unison. Every cymbal player in the line is going to play it, all right? And then from there, I have note heads up here and down here, all right? So this is where we split the sections up into two. So we'll have like an A line and a unison line and then a B line. So two more techniques actually. This is a ding. Virtual Drumline calls it a tap edge, but I had to split them up to get the two sections per line or whatever. And then this is a zing. I don't think I'm going to use any in this in a zing in this chart, but you can look all of those terms up online. They're fairly standardized. But anyway, so let's see. Next, let's talk about some notable concepts that I want to help teach when I write music for intermediate battery percussion ensemble. So the first thing I'm looking to do is I'm looking to help the players develop listening skills beyond what's happening right in front of them. Okay, so a lot of times when you have a decent drum line that's not incredibly good, the players will be really clean when they're only playing in subsectionals. okay, or when they're only playing as a snare line or as a tenor line or as a bass line, but they have a hard time listening to things that's going on the other side of the battery, right? So the snare drummers will have a hard time listening for what the basses are doing, so on and so forth. So we're looking to try to write some things that are kind of like interplay with each other that you're going to have to rely on each other to figure out what's going on and how to match timbres and everything like that. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm looking to develop sharp, or what I call sharp roll edges in my snares and tenors. All right, intermediate bass lines usually, in my opinion, aren't playing rolls yet. That's kind of a more of an advanced topic for me. But the snares and tenors are playing rolls, and I want to teach hard roll edges. Let's go on a quick rant about that. So when we have a roll in a snare line or a tenor line, let's say we have a tap seven, which for those of you who are maybe not percussion nerds like I am and don't know what I just referred to, this is a tap seven. It's a group of 16th notes, or usually it's a group of 16th notes with a accented note or non-accented note. Doesn't have to be. I just called it a tap seven, so let's take the accent out. But let's put it right here. So we got a tap and then a seven-stroke roll, a group of three diddles right next to each other, and then the release, right? So a lot of times what happens when people are asked to play a tap seven, they're not interpreting the diddles correctly. Okay, so if I were to write this diddle here is just shorthand to say, hey, double this note value. All right, and this is what it's supposed to be played like, right? So we have 1/16th note and then 6 32nd notes to fill in the beat, and then there's your quarter note. All right, but a lot of times what ends up happening is instead of this being a nice sharp interpretation, da digga 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 da, what ends up happening is it ends up being something like this, right? Where the players they kind of slur the first diddle. All right, and this is what I call a rounded roll edge, and this is what I call a sharp roll edge. Okay, now will the drum line blow up if none of them are playing sharp roll edges? No, but it is a note interpretation, rhythm interpretation thing that we want to get right, so that when your players hopefully go off to college and maybe even do some DCI or WGI stuff, that we're all on the same page. So that's another big thing I'm looking to develop. The third thing is I'm looking to develop an aggressive sound and style of play within the battery while not overwhelming the band. Okay, this is a problem I see in a lot of small schools across my state, being the state of Alabama, but I'm sure it exists in other parts of the country where maybe the band director, okay, is not, if the band director is not a percussionist, right? If they already have a percussionist there, since the percussion instructor only has to focus on these four instruments, right, they can devote a lot more attention to that, and the battery starts becoming more technically proficient than the wind players, right? Because it's not hard to do if you've got if you've got someone who only has to focus on these four players or these four instruments versus, this is like beginning concert band template and finale. So I mean, but you've got so many here and only four here. What ends up happening sometimes is that the battery percussion becomes so much better than the rest of the band technically, and it starts to overburden what the band is doing, and that's the last thing you want to do. We're gonna have to fight with that a lot while we write this chart, because I think I wrote this chart to be a grade 1, maybe a 1.5. I can't remember. It's really terrible, but we're gonna have to fight that a lot. But we're always looking to be aggressive with our playing and with our writing, but not overburdening. We want to go to the overburdening point and then reel it back in by like a half step or so. Okay. So then the last thing that I'm looking to teach And this is a kind of drum corps or a drumline nerdy one, but I'm looking to develop players being okay with crossbar phrasing. We'll get into that a little bit later. I think in maybe part two, part one or part two. I don't know. But anyway, so that's kind of my idea when I'm looking to write for what I call an intermediate drum line, or a drum line that the instructor tells me, I really want you to challenge these guys. They're not the greatest players, but I want to challenge them. So, but anyway, that's what I think about. So, with all of that being said, now let's actually get started on writing some actual notes. Now that we are over 15 minutes of raw footage into this video, and I still haven't written a note. So, yeah, so in this video, we're going to take you through the beginning up to, I think it's measure 19. So we're going to go basically here, I think. Maybe. Yes. Yeah, right. So we're going to get through the first 3 pages, okay? So this is a really, really stereotypically easy chart. It's basically 8 measure phrases up until here. And then we've got a 2 measure little percussion doohickey thing that it'll be fun to write for. So right off the bat, since we're starting the chart, I'm not going to be as notey as I could be, or as maybe I want to be. I don't want to give my hand away too quickly at the beginning of a chart. So I think first and foremost, we are going to start by doing hit points on beats 1 and 2, since basically half the band is doing that. And then maybe I'll follow this contour of the wind parts in the snare drum. And then we're doing half notes. Maybe we'll do some double stroke rolls here. Very good. Then we'll do some triplets as well. There we go. Okay, so one quick note about I said double strokes here, but I wrote 1 and a 2 and instead 8th notes with diddles. Typically, I don't do diddles until I get into the 32nd note range of rhythms, because I don't want to have them develop the soft or the smooth rounded edge for the rolls. I want them to be sharp, and if it's not 32nd notes, I'm gonna write the actual core rhythm of the roll, and I'm just gonna when I go to write the stickings in, I'm just gonna write a double stroke roll, and that'll be what happens. But so anyway, I'm not gonna write stickings in these in the initial videos. They'll be in the recordings at the end, just because I don't want to write stickings on YouTube for 45 minutes every video. So let's see. So we've got a crescendo right here. So let's go to piano here, and then crescendo back up to forte here. Yes, okay. So let's see. Let's do these notes on the rim. Okay, I'm wearing my headphones today, so you won't be able to hear all of the sounds as I cycle through them. All right, so let's do some decrescendo action right here. Very good. All right, and then we'll crescendo throughout the roll all the way up here to forte. Okay, now let's see. Let's talk about playing positions real quick in the snare drum. So the snare drum is generally it's 13 to 14 inches depending on how big your band is. There are a multitude of different playing spots on the drum. Generally, we tell snare drummers in the marching band to play directly on the center of the head, but you can move to the off-center position or the edge of the head. depending on what kind of timbre you want. But you need to be very specific where and when you want your players to move. So I'm going to say we're going to start at the edge right here. Oh Lord, I don't have any playing positions here. So let's go to technique text. Oh, we do have some. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to write the word edge. And then I think I want them to start going to the center of the drum here. And then we'll be back at the center right here. Okay. Now you don't have to put those in. Normally people will just kind of automatically do it. But since we are trying to looking to make that big push from intermediate to advanced, I'm gonna try and be as specific as possible with everything that I can be. Okay, so let's write some tenor stuff. There we go. Okay, now let's start off by writing some crossover stuff. So when I write crossovers, I do it just in the normal percussion map. I have my right hand hits be the open note head to indicate that I want that note to be crossed over. So the note head that you alter is going to be the one that is actually crossed over. So in this instance, I'm indicating to the tenor player that I want the right hand to go over the left hand to get to drum 4. So your right arm is going to be on top of your left arm. Okay. So let's see. From here, I'm going to do 16th notes on the Spock and go down the drums. We're going to keep things open-handed as much as possible until we just decide not to. And we'll decrescendo here as well. Boom. And we'll do an accent right here to start that. We'll accent these. We'll add a dynamic. Very good. I'm going to copy this rhythm over to the tenor staff and then just edit the drums. All right, let's see. Let's have all of this beat be drum 4. Okay, now you don't have to worry about anything I'm doing because this is all just VDL mumbo jumbo for me that I developed for my template. I keep everything on the left hand in the tenors. You don't have to do that. That's just the way that I've learned how to write for myself that I can do relatively efficiently. So you put it on whatever hand you want. If you want to do auto right left like I've got in the snare drums, perfect. If you want to manually do right and left hand, that's perfectly fine. You do whatever you feel is best and works for you the best. Anyway, so let's see. Let's do some triplets down the drums. Still looking to be open-handed. By the way, if in case I haven't said this before in the previous chart, open-handed when I'm referring to tenor players is trying to avoid crossovers as much as possible. Okay, so we'll end on drum 3. I know I talked about ending on drum 3 in the last chart, so I won't harp on that too much. There we go. We'll copy these accents in the snare part as well. And then we will crescendo. Very good. Boom. All right, so now for the bass drums. And we'll go back to mirroring the snare drum part for this beat, and then we'll just fill in the gaps. There we go. So here I know that I want to end up on drum 2 right here. So I've got a landing spot. I know I want 4/16 notes on drum 2 here. But if I did this, let's see, and just went straight down the drums, I'd have to skip to get to drum 2. So I've opted to just go back to one note per drum because I can, because our players can handle that now. If we were writing for beginner or beginner plus, I wouldn't really do that too much. But since we are working with a little bit more advanced of a bass line, I feel okay with doing that. And now I don't have to skip, all right? Because I generally I try to avoid skipping as much as possible. Now, as I'm talking about this, I realize if I really wanted an out, I could have just done this. But what I want to do is more fun. So therefore, Robbie's Law of marching percussion writing, we're gonna do it. Okay. So let's see, more 16th notes. We're right now, since I made a whole big deal about not wanting to skip just there, we're going to do exactly that here, and we're going to write our first 16th note triplet split down the drums. That's it. Or that's right, my friends. I'm back to my old way of making up my own rules whenever I please. And there's nothing you can do to stop me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to do my thing where I write all the unison notes as accents because I'm a little bit OCD in my old age, and it just sounds better to me in finale, so that's what I'm going to do. Very good. All right, so let's copy this measure. Let's copy here as well. Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to start at the bottom drum this time in the bass drums. And then we'll be nice to them for now. We'll just do a straight half beat split down or up and down. I'm going to kind of go in a weird order. I'm not going to write just measures of snare, tenors, bass, and then cymbals. You know, I'm going to go with whatever I feel like going with. This is going to be a little bit less organized than the Celebration of Morning's Light, but, you know. Let's have some paradiddles in this measure. Not rim shots, regular hits. Thank you. Okay, I know I talked about this in the Celebration of Morning's Light, but it really warms my heart to hear a running bass line over something a little bit different in the snares and tenors. So that's what we're going to have here. Let's see, and I'll just, these are going to be a paradiddle left, right, left, over single strokes. But anyway, so let's see what's going on in the band here. We've got quarter notes. Okay, this is 6, 7, and 8 of the phrase. Very good. Okay. Let's see. Ooh, let's do the Paul Riddick thing on the tenors, where he does the really aggressive 16th note rim shots on the on drum 4. I love it when Paul Riddick's drum lines do that. It sounds so awesome. At the time of recording, he's working with Santa Clara Vanguard again. It's 2024, and they're coming back from their hiatus that they took in 2023. Very excited to see them again this summer. Yeah, so let's see. Okay. Very good. So now half note, half, quarter, half, quarter. Oh my God. Half, quarter, half, quarter. Very good. Yes. I learned how to count music. All right, let's do some syncopation in our snare drums because we haven't been mean to the snare drums yet. And I like being mean to any instrument that I can be mean to in my writing. There we go. So we're just, what we're doing here when I say syncopation is we're just offsetting the accent points on here to the E of the beat. And it's gonna sound really, really cool. It's gonna sound like kind of like a whip crack motion. And then we'll kind of bring it back to normal on that beat 3 right there. There we go. And we'll accent all of that. And we will also, we're going to go up to fortissimo here. And we'll do a big old crescendo. Yeehaw. Just in the snares. Well, maybe the bass drums too. I haven't decided yet. Actually, yes, I have decided. Let's start these two instruments together. So this is kind of what I'm talking about, learning to listen to what's going on across from you. So we've got tenors playing at a different dynamic level. They're not going to crescendo. They're going to stay at forte, but we're going to have the basses and the snares at the same time be at piano and crescendoing in a relatively same manner. I'm not going to have any syncopation stuff like this for them, but what we will do is we'll do an accent on the and of one. And then let's do some copy and paste, because we're at minute 32 in this video of raw footage, and we're only not even 8 measures into the 19 I said we were going to get to in this video. But that's okay. We will soldier on. And then we'll do a unison measure here for the fill measure, or the end of the phrase. And we'll essentially copy that rhythm in the snares on beats 3 and 4. Very good. I missed an accent here. Okay. All right, so let's do another. We'll copy and paste this measure and change the drums around a little bit. There we go. Tell you what, we'll take that accent out to make it just a touch different. And we'll go straight down the drums here as well. There we go. All right, no crescendo. No crescendo for the tenors. Do I really want to do that? Or do I want to... Do I want to be a good percussionist and make everything on the same? I think I want to do that. All right, I'm talking myself into it. So we're obviously not going to crescendo here, but I do think it would be cool to go. We'll meet the rest of the drum line at mezzo forte on this first left hand diddle, and then we'll meet them at fortissimo, or we'll come up with them to fortissimo as they go. All right, so let's see. We're open-handed, so right hand's on drum 3. We're going to have the right hand come up for a rim shot on drum 1. And then left hand's just been chilling on drum 4, so we'll keep it there. We'll put another rim shot. And then 2 notes on drum 4. Very good. And we'll just accent all of these, why not? And crescendo up to beat 3, where we are at fortissimo. Very good. All right, so there's the first 8 measures for everybody but the cymbals. So let's talk about them real quick. All right, so we're going to start off right off the bat with 2 muted crashes. 1 on each side, okay? We're going to do 1 on each side because, let's see, because this is, dang it, no, there we go. This is really hard for cymbal players to do, but this, you're only responsible for 1 beat, so we're going to do that and make the measure look absolutely terrible. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Now, one thing I like to do when I have stuff like this is I like to push the backslash key and separate these things because they are choked, and I want them to give the impression that they are cut off from the rest of the music that's happening. I will also, when I write chokes and when I write muted rim shots on the tenors, most of the times I won't do anything higher note value than an 8th note, because to me, since drummers have no control over their sustain, yes, this is basically the same thing, but to me that means make the note last for a quarter note, which is not necessarily what I'm after here when I want an attack and then a quick disappearance of sound. So I'll shut up about that, and we'll just keep going. All right, so we're already on here. Let's do. This is a really easy pattern for cymbal players to get. Whatever technique you want to do, I'm just going to do straight quarter notes. 1 and 3 on side A, 2 and 4 on side B. We're going to start at piano. So we're going to move from dings to sizzles. Okay. And then we'll go into full blown crashes. As we go up to the next hit point. Okay. Let's see. So I'm not going to accent these two crashes. I'm going to accent these two because remember, I know I talked about this in the previous chart, but I typically don't accent crashes if they're below like mezzo forte. And I'm not entirely sure we're going to get up to mezzo forte before beat 3 of this measure. So we'll just keep that there. Anyway, so we're going from dings to sizzles to crashes, and then back to muted crashes. Okay. Then let's see. Let's kind of sort of mirror the rhythm in the tenors, but not really. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. So I've got and a 2, 3, and. What we're going to do is I'm going to have sizzles, sizz sucks, whatever you want to call them, on the and of 2 and then 3 and I might even do that where I accent the initial attack. Just as a side note, whenever I write these for my cymbal lines, I always tie them together. You don't have to. It makes no difference in real life or in the sound that you get from VDL. That just looks a little bit better to me. I don't know why, but so that's why I do it. Let's see. So are we going to crescendo this? I think we should. Let's start a piano, and we'll do more crashes here. Just copy and paste. Let's see. Yep, and I think we'll keep the same accent pattern there as well. So now are we gonna have our first unison note? Yes, we've been all splits up to this point. Now we're gonna have our first unison crash. Okay. Now, one quick note: when you're moving from a split part to a unison note in your cymbal line, if you are changing techniques, all right. So like right here, if we're changing from a ding to a sizzle, if you're changing techniques, you want to give at least a quarter notes rest in between that, so that we have time to reset our arms and get everything ready to go. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to this rule, like if you're going from a crash where a singular player is playing and then a crash where everybody's playing, that's okay because it's the same. It's not the same playing, but it's the same techniques. It's just more than one person's doing it now. Also, if you're going from a regular crash to a muted crash, that's probably okay. I would just be careful though. Just err on the side of caution, because the second you try to overburden your cymbal players, everything's gonna fall apart, and no one's really gonna understand why. But I digress. All right, so now we've got the first 8 measures of the chart written, minus stickings, of course, but we'll add that in later. Cool. So now we need to get the next 8, which is essentially a repeat of the first phrase. Let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's essentially a repeat of the first 8 bars, but with measures 7 and 8 being a little different rhythmic wise. So we'll try to do something a little different here to mirror that. Okay, so let's see. We still have hit points here on beats 1 and 2, but I want to be more notey in this phrase than I was in this phrase because we're looking to grow as the chart grows or as the chart goes on. So let's do something a little bit more rhythmically involved, but not too much. We'll do 1, 2E and a 3, 4E and a. There we go. Oh, now I'm starting to understand why I moved those 2 measures back. Okay, so we are at forte on this beat because I want this first beat to the release of the phrase 1E and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. I want this one to be fortissimo and then go back to forte here. A lot of arrangers will just kind of put the forte there, but you don't want the last note of the phrase to be quieter than this note. Anyway, that's a pet peeve of mine. I'll shut up about that now. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do a little bit more syncopation stuff. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so accents and everything. We'll do an accent on 1, then accent all of those beats. Okay, so now we've got half notes and whole notes, so we can afford to be a little bit more note heavy. Okay, I think let's do a syncopated roll here. So this is definitely an intermediate plus only club now because this rhythm is not necessarily very easy to play, and it's definitely not easy to teach. So we're just going to do some tap 5s or accented tap 5s offset by an 8th note. At the time of recording this, I don't think that has a name as a hybrid rudiment, but I could be wrong. But anyway, so let's see. I think I want these to be paradiddle diddle and then 2 puttidas. Again, for kind of dovetailing again off the last video. If you don't know what a paradiddle diddle is, it is a paradiddle, right, left, right, right, and then a second double stroke after. It's also reversible, so we could also do, I'll show you, left, right, right. However, none of our drummers in my drum line are left-handed, so we're not going to worry about that. And then a puttida is just right, left, left, right, left, or left, right, right, left, right, right. However, I'm not going to do 3 strokes in a row at 160. That would be suicide. So we'll do paradiddle diddle, puttida, puttida. Anyway, yeah, so we'll erase all of that for now. Okay, let's see. Do I want to crescendo that? I don't think so, even though the whole band is, or most of the band is. I think we're going to stay at forte, and we'll have the band meet the drum line at whatever this measure is. Measure 13, look at that. Okay, let's see. You know what? I think I want to push through this crescendo, this phrase. So we're going to, instead of 4 and, we're going to do 4E and accent it. Because, again, we can. All right, let's see. Yep. All right, so now let's just hammer home that we are really good at playing downbeats and offbeats. So we're gonna mirror these 1, 2, and then we're gonna turn them completely on their heads and make and play on the offbeats. Because again, we can, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. Let's see, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and let's do another paradiddle and puttida thing. Puttidas are really cool when you take them on the offbeat. They can do some really cool stuff, syncopated wise or syncopation wise. You'll hear that when you hear this measure 14. Let's see. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, so let's finish out this phrase on the snare drum, and then we'll go back to tenors. So we have a whole note in the entire band. So let's do a triplet roll, because why wouldn't we? Okay, this time I'm going to do a tap roll, or an accented tap roll, whatever you want to call it. Oh, hello. This is another time where I'm going to specify the playing position for the snare drummers. So one thing, we're already at forte, right? We're already at forte right here, so I'm not going to put another forte or a forte piano right here. You can if you want, and you would certainly be well within your right to do so. But in my mind, this note's already forte, so I'm just going to exactly tell the player where I want the piano to be. Anyway, so we're going to start. We're going to at the edge for the first part of the roll, and we're going to go from the edge to the center. And then this is just 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do, oops, not triplets. Not triplets, please. Thank you. Something like that. 1 and 2 and 3 and a 4. Yeah. Now I'm worried about this crescendo. We're starting at piano here. However, I think I'm going to change that because this is a marching band chart. Maybe we'll start the band at mezzo forte and go to fortissimo. That'll be a little bit better. Because again, I'm the ending of my crescendo in the battery. I do want to be fortissimo. So I think I want it to be here. But maybe we'll just give in to my intrusive thoughts and make it match the rest of the band. But anyway, so let's see. Crescendo, I need to specify where I want the center or when I want the center. And I think I want the players to reach the center of the drum right there. So we're going to put that there. Very good. All right, almost done for this video. We're at 50 minutes of raw footage now. Fantastic. Oh my goodness, we have so much left to do. All right, so let's do some copy and paste because we can. We'll mirror this rim shot. Oh, I have an idea. Let's start this on the Spock instead of going down. Then I'll do another cool little Paul Rennick thing that I love to do sometimes. So we're going to write a whole bunch of rim shots on the Spock over any other rhythm than 16th notes in the snare drums and basses. This is going to sound really cool. I can feel it, ladies and gentlemen. I can feel it in my bones. This is going to make people just absolutely lose their mind. Anyway, so let's see. Then we got to get out of it. So we'll just do a Spock rim shot and 40 and on the drum 4. Very good. Okay. So now I don't really want to do the same thing here, but I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to do some grandmas. That sounds really terrible. I want to write some grandmas. For those of you who don't know what a grandma is a paradiddle with a extra tap at the end. That instead of like in a normal paradiddle, you would have the first note of the paradiddle accent, and we're going to accent the second and then the tap right there. This is another. I'm shamelessly copying Paul Rennick's drumline playbook, and that's okay because there are certainly worse people you can copy. But anyway, so we're going to do that again, and so this is kind of going to create a little hocketed thing with the snare drums. Let's zoom in a little bit. So we'll have the first accent, or first note accented here, second note, first note, third note, fourth note, second note, third note. It'll sound really cool. I like that. However, I would be remiss if I didn't say this is probably a section or a measure that you will have to work on a lot. So if you're looking to not have to work on so much, that would maybe not be a hill I'd be willing to die on, especially since we're probably going to get a little bit harder as the chart goes on. We're probably going to write a little bit more difficult. Okay, speaking of getting more difficult, let's get more difficult in the tenors as well. So let's see, we'll try to still keep with open hand stuff. So, yep, we'll have the left hand. No, let's go down. There we go. Yeah, we'll put those taps all on drum 4. Okay. All right. Very good. All right, so let's copy this measure and do the transpose trick. So let's see, sustained buzz on drum 1 needs to be a shot on drum 1, and then this needs to be drum 4 hits. Very good. Okay. Then we'll do a little bit. We'll mirror the rhythm, but not the sticking. Just to be different. Actually, no, we're not going to mirror the rhythm. We're going to get close, but we're going to do another Paul Rinnick thing, just because, again, I can, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop me, except maybe Mr. Rinnick himself. If Mr. Rinnick sees these videos and tells me, Robbie, don't do that anymore, I will be very, very sad, but I will absolutely stop writing this measure for tenors. Anyway, I'm getting more and more delirious by the second, everybody. Okay, so here's my tenors for that measure. Let's see. Do we want to do a triplet roll in the tenors? I think so, because we want to develop the listening environments that I talked about earlier. But I won't dictate the playing position, because tenors pretty much going to play on the edge of the head no matter what drum they're playing on or what dynamic they're going to do. All right, so we're coming from drum 4. So we're going to do drum 3 here. Then we'll go up the drums. We'll end up at the spock. And then we will go down the drums. And then we will go 1, 2, 3, 2, spock, and stay on drum 2. Very good. Okay, more transposing. Thank you. Very good. Transpose percussion. This is drum 1, right hand rim shot. And drum 4, left hand hits. Very good. Didn't accent that. Thank you. Then we'll do a double stop here in the tenors. I'll just need to remember to make that at both hands as well. There we go. All right, crescendoing up to fortissimo from piano. Very nice, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm not going to worry about where the crescendo starts. Normally, now I'm going to end up doing it anyway, so I might as well just do it. Normally, I try to drag the crescendo marking as close as humanly possible to the dynamic marking. I don't know why I do that. That's just another thing that I've always done. Do that or don't do it. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, let's go back to the bass drums. We're going to have some more running 16th notes here. Let's see, we are coming off a unison note. Very good. Okay. Let's start with drum 3. Why not? And then we'll write some more moving notes. We're going to avoid skipping as much as possible. And then, let's see, we'll do unison 16th notes. This might be a point of contention for your battery. If it is, I would just change these bass drum notes to 8th notes. But it should be okay because we're all playing the same rhythm. Maybe if it sounds too much like the old cliche, the shoes in a dryer, just change these to 8th notes and it should be fine. But yeah, all right. So we are at 57 minutes of raw footage now. Yeah, how's that 19 measure goal for part 1 looking, Robbie? Okay. Let's see. Ooh, more syncopation here. So we're already doing syncopation in the snares and tenors. Let's add another layer to the onion and just make everybody cry with our righteous drumline writing. Isn't it wonderful, ladies and gentlemen? So we're gonna just, out of the blue, we're gonna throw a 4/3 polyrhythm right here, one and E4. Over all of this other mess going on in the snares and tenors. This will definitely now be a point of contention. So if I know, if I've got a measure that I know is going to take a lot of time and effort, I'll usually create an expression in like the rehearsal marks or whatever, and then I'll be like, this is going to suck or something like that, and I'll put it in the score. Okay, there we go. It wrote it in the band score. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, we're getting hilariously off track. But then the line, the players will see it because it'll show up in all the parts, and they'll laugh about it, and then they'll put the extra effort into it because that I've told them in a hilarious way that that measure is going to be difficult. So that's where they need to focus their efforts. Anyway, I am not going to write this offset triplet roll on the bass drums, but what I am going to do is I'm going to be incredibly mean to them again. I'm going to make them play more 6-tuplet splits because I'm on a reign of terror and I can't be stopped. Let's see. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this on measures beats 3 and 4, and I'm going to make bass drum 1 and 2 play 3 beats of this stuff before going down to drum 4, because again, I am a monster and I cannot be told no. Actually, I'm going to tell myself no. And then since we're playing 16th notes that are accented in the snares and tenors, that is going to sound terribly jumbled up. So we're just going to replace them again with 16th notes. So hooray for me! I'm on a humanitarian mission for my bass drums. Let's see. I won't put rim clicks in this part, so we'll just outline the accented notes with this, and let's mirror the snare drums again. 2E and a 3 and a 4E and yeah, it should be fine. And then, oh my goodness, absolutely more 16th note triplet splits. It's just, ladies and gentlemen, the benevolence. All right, so this time we'll go down the drums and then back up. I hope. Anyway, if I can find the right note in my computer. There we go. Okay, so we'll do the tuplet tool. Now, I do these as 6 tuplets. You can absolutely just do them as 16th note triplets in your tuplet tool. But I like the look of the 6 a little more than I like the look of 2 3s. So I take the extra time and do it like this. You don't have to. It's literally the same rhythm. But, this is just me being elitist with my drumline writing. And it makes me feel good about myself, so I'm going to do it. All right, so I'm not going to have a forte piano here. I'm just going to start down at piano, and we will now have some rim clicks because we're not complete and total monsters. Yes. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so then we'll accent everything here, including the rim clicks, and we'll be at fortissimo here and add the crescendo Fantastic. Okay, we're going to save. Very good, very important. And now the cymbal part. Okay, let's see here. I see no reason to not at least copy this measure for solidarity purposes. I have no idea if what I said makes any sense, but that's okay. Then we got quarter notes happening here. Not much motion, so let's not reinvent the wheel here. We'll do 2 unison orchestral crashes or just regular crashes to all the non-percussion nerds out there. Okay, and then we'll do a unison crash, and then I think one will play, or side A will play a muted crash on beat 2, and then we'll do a muted crash on side B on the and of 3. Now you could probably keep all of these as unison muted crashes, but it'll look cooler if one side does one and then the other side does the other. So it's purely an aesthetic choice. You do whatever you feel is best, but that's what we're gonna do. Then why not more half notes? Oh, I forgot the accents in this. There we go. And why not? Let's do accents there too. Very good, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's outline the accents here again. We'll do that for the first 2 beats. And I see no reason to do it again. Yep. So let's see. I will separate the stems though. There we go. Very good. Then I will give all of the cymbal players a beat worth of rest to catch their breath. And then we'll do 2, 3, 4 as regular crashes, and then we'll do a whole note crash. Now I'm not going to tell the cymbal players to crescendo this whole note. I'm just going to keep it at forte. And then we'll copy a measure previously. We'll do this measure, and we'll bring it. I think the band is probably going to be at around mezzo forte-ish, right there. Oh, look, there's the rest of the band at mezzo forte. So we'll do mezzo forte, and then we'll do a muted crash. That's not an 8th note. That's an 8th note. Very good. We'll do a muted crash with an accent at fortissimo right there. Okay, we won't accent these 2. Actually, you know what? We're at mezzo forte. Let's go ahead and accent them. We're not complete monsters. We're only a little bit of a monster. Anyway, all right. So we are over an hour of raw footage. So I will not write these 2 measures on camera. I'm just gonna write something really simple off camera for that. But yeah, you're gonna hear what I have written right about now. Thank you guys for staying with me. I promise I will be less delirious in the rest of these videos. But yeah, enjoy. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one.